Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Personable. Today I'm honoured to be joined by Sunetra Sarker. Sunetra is a famous actress having starred in Brookside, Casualty, Ackley Bridge and a huge number of other things. She is an agent and director, having been on Gogglebox, The Chase, Loose Woman, been nominee for a huge number of prizes. She has climbed up Kilimanjaro, runs a self-care podcast, has been on Strictly Come Dancing in 2014 and has a huge number of followers on Instagram. So thank you very much, Sunetra, for joining me today.
Hello, Harvey. I just have to put a little disclaimer. I have never walked up Kilimanjaro, but I love
Really?
that you think that I have. Maybe that's
on your
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. That was on your Wikipedia.
Oh.
2009, you climbed Kilimanjaro. You raised loads of money for charity.
I'm taking it.
No,
I reckon they've mistook me for like Connie Hook or Maya Jama or someone else who's clearly got the ability. But I'm going to take that because if Wikipedia said it, it must be true.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I think that was probably your best accomplishment. I'm joking.
Yeah, it's my best.
It's truly the best one.
My family would love it if this was true. But yes, thank you for such a lovely introduction. I feel quite honoured to have somebody, bill me like that. And I feel like I have to live up to quite a lot now.
Well, no, you've had a truly amazing career. I mean, even like researching, I was a bit all over the place. It's like you've done so much. So it's quite hard to actually go, on to the next thing when you've literally done everything.
But I've been around a while.
But going on to your main thing, which most people know you by, is your acting.
Yeah.
So I want to get started by asking you, why acting? Why did you want to become an actress?
Well, you know what? It's funny. Acting chose me rather than me choosing acting, and it genuinely was quite it was one of those once in a lifetime stories. And my family is sick of me talking about this, but it really is how it happened. I was 15. I was at the bus stop waiting for the number 73 bus, and a woman just came up in her car and she said, "I've been watching you for a while. Do you do drama GCSE?" I thought she was a weirdo, kind of stepped back, don't talk to strangers.
I wouldn't recommend people do that these days.
I know. I just don't think this would be allowed. She wouldn't have even got a window down right now. But back in the day, I took this business card off her. Her name was Jan Smiley, and she was the assistant casting director at Mersey TV, which made Brookside, which was a Liverpool soap opera, a bit like EastEnders. Back in the day, it was big news. And they said, "We're looking for this new Asian character. You got the right face for this character. We'd love you to have an audition." And I was like, "What?" Just based on the fact I do drama GCSE. I wasn't even good at it. If I was good at drama GCSE, I might have even thought, but I was shocking, really bad. So anyway, I take this card to my mum and dad, show it to them, and they give the number a call. And next thing you know, I'm auditioning for a soap opera in Liverpool, and 3 episodes became 3 years. And honestly, all I had to do was talk about myself. They just said, "Tell us about yourself." And there were about another 10 girls waiting to come in after me. They must have all done the same. And I just went on a bit, probably more than they needed. And then I got the job. And this was such a random situation for someone to be just thrown into a television programme. But I do think it's because they couldn't find any Asian scouse actresses from any drama schools, because they were the two things you probably didn't find in any, if you think about 1988, people going to drama school were either very privileged or, came from families that had done a lot of theatrical, musicals or acting and producing in their background. And so it wasn't really even an option for people like me. And again, coming from Liverpool with an accent, no one was thinking about those sort of people being on screen. So Brookside really did give me my biggest break. And it also opened my eyes to a world I didn't even know was a job. Like, this wasn't even like on the careers advisor didn't suggest this when we were at school.
Broke out.
Yeah, so that's how I fell into acting, and I was terrible. I didn't know what I was doing. And so, funnily enough, 10 years later, I went back to Brookside to sort of repay them with some proper acting, because I wasn't very good when I was 15.
But how? I've got like a ton of questions on that. Like, you must have obviously been brilliant to have made such a successful career out of it. But how did you go from actually just doing the audition to them knowing, wow, Sunetra is very good at this.
Sunetra's a bit of a Frank Sinatra. Yeah, I actually...
It's very good at this. We're going to continue it.
I think what it was because there was no expectation. it was a lot easier. So if I were to ask you to do something that nobody expects you to be good at, the pressure comes off you. And for me, this is why I think for my career, it was really important that I didn't go to drama school. So many actors have learned so many amazing things by going to drama school, but there is an element of competition, and there is also an element of what do you do if this doesn't work? Whereas the route I went down, I wasn't expecting to do it for more than 3 episodes. The fact it became 3 years was just a complete gift. Mental. And I started to think about going to acting lessons after I got the job. So I kind of did it all back to front. And I think that's maybe why I stuck at it, because nobody expected me to stick at it. It wasn't like my parents were still saying to me, what are you going to do at university? My mates were talking about, one day if we all run our own business, we had our own plans. So this acting was a bit of a, look at this little funny thing I'm doing for, on the sidelines. Sure. And I think because I never thought it was going to be my life's career, I took the pressure off myself. Now, that's really hard to expect other people who want to be actors to try this route. But what I would say is, have other options in your life. Don't go, especially for actors in this day and age. The competition is high and you have to have some other options. So for me, Brookside gave me the training ground. I learned to act watching amazing actors and amazing cameramen and directors all around me. So I just sort of sat and watched and was like, right, that's what that does. So that's it.
But actually being there when because I'm presuming you got paid something while you were there. Did it seem like, was it a small amount, or did it seem actually, hey, I can start earning some real money from this? Hey, mum and dads, I'm going to become an actress. But you still went to university even when doing that. Well, so what was kind of going through your heads?
Well, first of all, Brookside had the most amazing policy that everyone got paid the same, no matter who. But I was because I was 15, I was on a child rate. But the minute I became 16, I was getting paid exactly the same amount as the top end actors, which is, I don't know any show that does that, but it kept such an amazing. It kept everyone's ego in place. Everyone knew where they stood. There wasn't any sort of in-house rivalry was removed because everyone knew we were on the same figure. The way you made more money on a show like that was being in more episodes. So it was on twice a week. If you were in twice every week, you got paid more. If you were only once every month, like I was, it wasn't as much. But the truth is, I wasn't expecting to get any money like this. So I saved it up. I bought a car. I managed to get things at the age of 17 that most 17-year-olds never could get. And I always thought, God, have spend it while you've got it, because I never thought this could still. I did see you could earn money, but no way did I think there was any other job that I would fit like I fitted this job. Again, I have to bring up, without it sounding like I'm harping on about a person of colour and having a regional accent, but having a regional accent, even today, right, Harvey, right today, 2023, you name me one late 40s Asian Liverpool actor on TV, and there's only me still. I'm the only one. I mean, I can't think. There's a lot of Asian actresses and there's a lot of Liverpool actors, but there's nothing that's come together yet that's still allowing, because it was so rare to find a role that wanted both of those things.
Wow, that's seriously impressive. But then moving on to so even doing that and earning that amount and getting in more episodes. As I was saying before, you still went to university. So some part of your mind was like, I got to keep up. And you even mentioned it before, I got to keep up that safe route. Yeah. So after you graduated from university, were you I'm now all in acting. I've got to use my degree.
Absolutely. I was like, I'm here. Okay, I've done the degree. And I was getting loads of little acting jobs along the university years. So I thought, it's going to happen. I've got myself an agent, came out of uni, and there was nothing. There was just no work.
Wow.
I was like, no, agent, anything? And they were like, no, we'll get in touch if we hear anything. So then I had to start temping and using my degree to get me earning some money to live in London. So I was working all over the place. Every week I was temping in different agencies. And then, just as I landed a really good job with a car company in St John's Wood, they wanted me to be a quality assurance officer and work in all their branches and try and make all their car showrooms better. And I was like, I could do this. This is what my degree is given. My degree was nothing to do with acting. It was business, it was computing, it was French.
Wow.
You know, I did a really eclectic kind of degree. But anyway, I was just about to sign on the dotted line and I got an audition. And it was for a film called Flight on BBC Two. And it was to play this bisexual cocktail girl who juggled tequila bottles and lived in a women's refuge. It was so exciting. And I got the job, and I had a crossroads where I had to make that decision. Do I go down the corporate route or do I go down the creative route? And it was really hard because this corporate route was offering £15,000 in like 1995, which was amazing. You could definitely live in London with that. Or I'd just do this 10-week job, which would give me like £3,000, and that would be it for the year. And it's like, but something inside me was saying, you know which one you want to do. And I think that was when I actually made the decision. Not when I first got my telly job. It was when I got to the point where I hadn't had any acting work, and then something came up that I realised I wanted this more than I'd been making out I did. And that's when I became, and as of that day, I think I was 23. Ever since then, I've never done another job. I've only been, and I've stayed acting, and the stars aligned, and I have kept myself working since then. But that was the hardest crossroads to make a real decision, because actually when I look back, I might have been some brilliant quality assurance exec for some big for Google. I don't know, but the businesswoman in me had to kind of just take that hat off, and I just went straight full throttle towards the acting.
That's truly amazing, because like, even at, in that time, as you were saying about how much money you earned, and you got this safe job, you literally just graduated from uni, and you knew, even with the less money, that, well, even if you weren't going to make a career out of it, you really had to follow your passions.
Yeah.
But even with, you worked on a series for 3 years.
Yeah.
And even you were finding this dry patch and getting work. So then after you got that role for 10 weeks, how did you use that to propel you into the rest of your career and your future roles?
Well, that was very hard, because again, this is when you're at the bottom of the ladder, you really do remember how hard it is, because you look at everybody who's further up the ladder, and that's where I maybe am for some others now. And I remember thinking, how will I make ends meet every single week? Because my friends, remember, who also went to university and who were all doing really well, they were becoming accountants and doctors and lawyers, and they were all doing really well. We were all, chuffed, and they were always so happy for me with this crazy, oh my God, Sunetra with her crazy acting life, and she's always available to hop on a plane and go on holiday with us. That was because I didn't have any work, right? So I was always available. But I did realise that I had to make some sacrifices to stick at wanting to be an actor. And some of those sacrifices were not earning as much money, and not being able to buy my own house as soon as I wanted to, not be able to do a gap year like lots of friends did. There were so many things that I thought, well, I can't, because if the job turns up, I can't not be here. So that was what I did end up doing, is I started using my newfound acting abilities to do other things. So I was like reaching out to friends who wanted their daughters or sons to learn a bit of drama, and I'd say, I'd help them with script readings. I tried to get some money from doing anything to do with acting, going into schools and talking about how I became an actor and what they can do to I suppose I just started being a bit more entrepreneurial with my acting.
Yeah.
But I think it did take to get some regular work to again convince my parents that this was a job.
Yeah.
And also to think about things like, having a family and having a real life down the line. I think there is a cut-off. People do often get to a point in their life where you go, do I carry on just trying to be an actor? Or do I now just go and get the job at Barclays Bank, Sure. There is a point where it is around, I'd say, 29, 30, that a lot of actors have to make that decision. And it's very hard, because you might be one job away from that big break, and you don't know whether it's coming or not. So for me, I was very lucky that I persevered, and I did stick it out. I probably had two or 3 years where I was just receptionist in Cracker, woman behind counter here, a vet's assistant for 4 lines here, and that it was just keeping me going. And then I managed to secure a a proper job, which was to play a waitress on a show called London Bridge, and I did that for 3 years, and that was when I started going, okay, I'm an actress.
Wow. How old were you at this point?
23, 24.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think I got myself a new agent. I moved from a Manchester agent to a London agent, and you just slowly, I think it is about one rung on the ladder. You just keep hold of the rung that you're on for as long as you can, and don't look down, but also don't look up too much, because that's the problem in my career. People are like talking Hollywood and fame and billboards, and everyone's looking to be like the next big star. And actually, if you look it up, you're just missing what's going on your floor, you know. And I think I was very lucky to be surrounded by people on my floor who were good fun.
But you even mentioned like the rungs. It's not like a corporate job where, you know, you're at a level, you see your boss, you see the person below you. I'm going to work up to that level. You're literally having to do other jobs to get that work. And you said you're only one job away from your big break, but how did you what was going through your mind at that time? You're doing something completely different. You're teaching drama and not being the actress you've always wanted to be. So what kept you going in your mind? Did you always believe you were going to find that next role?
No, not at all. What I thought was, how long can I get away with this before I have to get a proper job? So in my back of my mind, I was like, thank God I've got a degree. Thank God I've got my backup. And there are some schools of thought that say, don't have a backup. Just be free, be an artist, go out there, live on the edge. But I'm not one of those. I'm not that person. Wow. I can't live on the edge. I need to go, just in case this doesn't work out, here is backup plan number 1. And I was always thinking of new schemes, speaking to my friends. Oh, you know, I've got a friend, he's a DJ. Should we set up our own little this? I was always looking for side hustles on top of the acting. And that is what kept me going, because I knew if I didn't get the acting job, I'd have to be good at something else, because I didn't want to be shit at something else. I wanted to be good at something else. And I still wasn't good at acting. The only way I got better at acting is by working so much that you can't not get better. You know, I was surrounded by people I was learning from every day. And I was lucky, Harvey, because I did land a 3-year regular TV job under the spotlight of celebrity. There was no celebrity back in like 1998. Yeah. Even in 2000, no one was really talking about, you know, celebrities were people in America who literally were winning the Oscars. They were not people. Reality TV hadn't come our way by then. So we were just jobbing actors, and we were in the theatre, we were watching each other. It was like that creative world that I think students sometimes live in. You know, that place where you just love life because your responsibilities are so high that you can't like accomplish them. And you're also hanging out with people who haven't all got their like kind of shit together yet. Yeah, so sure. When you're hanging around people like that, there's a lot less pressure to have to be brilliant. You just have to enjoy. And I think I just got very lucky that the regular work helped me improve. But I kept my eye on the game, probably because of the lifestyle that I was living. I was enjoying living this sort of, I don't want to say gypsy, but like that kind of, who knows what the next week might be different. Who knows what's going to happen at the end of the... Yeah, I like living from week to week.
But what sort of, while we're on the topic of like your early career, what sort of advice would you have for actors or actresses around my age, or maybe I'm 18, or someone maybe in their early 20s, or even in their 40s, that's been trying to get into acting for ages? Is it worth pursuing? Because the 99% of people aren't going to have the big break. Even if they keep working hard, there's only so many roles. They might not fit what they're looking for, looks-wise, how they talk, their skills. So what advice would you have for someone that's uber motivated like yourself, that really wants to pursue something like acting, when there's that safe job on the side, or they've been doing it for too long?
I would say, how much do you love acting? And if you love it enough to be able to perform in a social club in Brighton for 25 people who've paid for tickets, do you still want to be an actor? Do you still want to be an actor if you are asked to do a commercial in Bulgaria that will never get shown on any channel you ever see in your life? Do you still want to be an actor? How much does the actual acting matter? Is it where it's going to get played out? Is it where your work will be seen? or is it really because you enjoy the acting? And that is actually it. It's almost like when you speak to athletes, like they're not learning their sport because they want to get to the Olympics. They're learning their sport because they're good at it and they like doing it. No swimmer ever said, I hate swimming and I've ended up winning a gold medal at the... You know, I feel like it's always got to come back to, do you actually enjoy standing on stage and performing as somebody else to other people? Because so many people I've asked that question to would not be happy to earn £200 a week in Woking community centre doing Macbeth. You know, that's just not what
sure.
they don't want to do that. But you've got to start. If I said that's where you start and who knows where it ends up, would you still do it?
Because do you think that is a requirement?
I think it is, absolutely, because so many people look at what they think is acting and go, oh, I want to do that. But what you actually want to do is you want to be seen on TV on Channel 4 on a fabulous hit show.
That's the epitome of the career.
Yeah, would you be on a show that's only shown in Nigeria at 2:00 in the morning? Would you be an actor then? This is the thing. People, when they think about my job, they only see the kind of perks and opportunity sometimes. Yeah. And I think back, like I say, when I started, you know, it wasn't even a job, but as I started becoming an actor, I realised it's actually the role that I'm really excited about. I'm excited about stopping being me and slipping into this person and being as kooky and crazy as this person needs me to be. And I've found that in some of my favourite roles that I've lost myself so much that I've come out on a high. Like, oh my God, it's like when you watch those films, like people going back in time and then they come out and they go, I don't know what just happened. That's the high that you get when you really act. When you are absolutely sparring with another actor, there's no high like it. That, honestly, because you're making magic in a way that you can't talk about because you both just feel it.
It's amazing. You kind of talked a bit about your, like, actually getting into becoming the character. What's your process like for becoming your role? I mean, some people, I think it's like Leonardo DiCaprio spends the first 2 months before a role actually becoming, like the Wolf of Wall Street, for example. He becomes Jordan Belfort. Do you get into your role, or are you just, have it in mind and rock up?
Well, do you know what?
You're at home, like, Noah and the family.
It depends, right? When I was a lot younger, I think I might have spent a bit too long poring over research and highlighting everything I need. Oh, she says that, but she looks that other way. Why does she look the other way? Asking yourself questions, and you can almost tear yourself apart by over-analysing roles that you're given.
Sure.
The bit that I think I always enjoy is I've got to bring a bit of me to the role, whichever bit of me. Say there's 25 parts of me. How many parts of me do I want to bring into this role? Now, for some roles, especially things like Casualty, where I'm playing a doctor 48 weeks a year, I'm doing this for 10 years, right? So there we're talking about 500 episodes. There's no way I can't bring more me than is necessary. I can't just, for that long, not be a bit more of me. So there are some characters that I feel I had to do the research in the moment. Like, I know what my characters would say if you asked this question. So say, for example, I would ask myself, what would my character say if somebody said, you've got 2 days to live, right? So I'll start asking myself questions that what would this person do that I wouldn't do? How would this person react if somebody put a gun to their head? Like, I know what I would do.
Pretty dark examples. Examples.
But you have to go there. You have to go to extremes. You don't say, what sandwich do they want to eat, and how many sugars do they take in their tea? I mean, that's not dramatic. It's called drama for a reason, Harvey.
Wow.
So that's one of the things I do. But with some really more perverse characters, like characters that are further away from me than I am, I take it more seriously. So I would probably do, like, for example, in Ackley Bridge, when I got given the role of Kenise Paracha, who was like the dinner lady who wore a headscarf. She was Muslim. She was a single parent. She was like, she barely spoke English. That is so far away from Sunetra Sarker that I had to go and speak and research and ask people, how they spoke, watching them,
Wow.
watching their observations, going in front of the mirror, practicing it, speaking to people and saying, tell me if I'm doing this wrong. And before we'd say action, I did have certain words that I would just have to say to get me into the character.
All the words. Can we get a little... You have to do the character. Can we hear the words?
I think for Kenese, I used to say things like, why would you do such a thing? Why are you asking me these stupid questions? Where are you going? Why are you going? Action. And then I'd be in this place where my face is already in a, why would you do such a thing? Huh? And it was a really strange feeling because I left me and joined her in that kind of 4 lines of, and it would always be, I'd write them down like, I'd sometimes have Yorkshire words written down and I'd say them in Yorkshire and then they'd say them in Pakistani and then I'd merge them together and it'd be like, where, her. I can't even do it now. It was a real minefield, but she was one of my favourite characters because I really stretched myself in many ways and I also think I surprised some people who hadn't seen me playing a woman like her before, and she'd never existed on screen before. I've never seen anyone playing. The hero is never the woman in the shopkeeper's wife.
Yeah.
I got to play a hero that we don't see being a hero very often. So that was why the research was really important.
How do you, when you get a script, it sounds like you did when you were younger, but just talking there, it sounds like you have more creative license. To what extent do you get to reimagine what the character actually says, how they do things, how stuff happens on set? Or is stuff pretty regimented, it's just the way you say stuff? What sort of creative license do you have when it comes to roles?
It depends on the
director.
It doesn't just depend on the director. The writer's words should be good enough for you not to have to change them. However, slight caveat, if you're in a show where the writer changes from week to week and you're the only constant, you have to be the only person in charge of knowing that your character wouldn't say that because they didn't. Say, for example, 2 years ago, say 2 years ago, I was told my character was claustrophobic because we'd done a whole episode where they were claustrophobic. And then cut to 2 years later, and a writer who didn't know I was claustrophobic writes something about me going, don't be stupid, stop being, people who've got claustrophobia are stupid. I would then say, I can't say that because my character actually suffered. Do you know what I mean? Because I got to know this character. Sure. So they're the places that you can safely say, I'm the only person, I'm head of my department, I'm head of that character's department because I'm looking after that character. Nobody else is paying as much attention to it as I am. So sometimes you can use that license. Other times when you're working with another actor and they're coming up with really good suggestions that we think will make the scene better and more plausible, we'll often go to the director or producer with the suggestion, let them hear it, and let them then ring the writer and ask the writer, is that okay or not? Now, I worked on Casualty for 9 years, and I know I became one of those people that was always trying to keep my character as truthful as I could, and I probably did step over the line sometimes and maybe change things. Yeah, of course, I'm aware of that because when I became a director on that show and I saw the process, I realised how important it was for the writers to know that what they're writing would actually get the right message across. And sometimes they were worried that actors were just going to mess up what they'd written. And so when I became a director, I saw things from a completely different perspective and thought, actually, we need to bring the writer into the conversation when the actors want to change stuff. And sometimes the writer doesn't care and goes, it's fine. But just to give them the respect is often, you learn along the way, don't you? But that was something I learned by being in the job for long enough to then become a director of that same show and seeing both sides of the table, I suppose.
With something when it gets to so many different series, and you also said about you becoming a director and that changing your point of view.
Yeah.
When, especially in things like, I don't know, something like Game of Thrones, when someone falls in love with a certain character, the writers, I don't know if they did this with Game of Thrones, but the writers might change something to either kill off a character early or keep someone in the show for longer. Do you notice that sort of thing happens often, and does that kind of screw up the actors' like mindset and how they
Well,
cope with the role?
this goes back to my question when I said to you about advice for actors. Is like, do you love the acting? Do you love storytelling more than you love the fame? And if you love storytelling and the writer's got a brilliant story for you, you should want to tell that story regardless of whether you stay in the show or not. So if it's so
2 days
much
to live.
2 days to live, 2 days to live, it's so much more exciting than and they all lived happily ever after, running off into the distance. So it's that kind of, the word, drama is actually about bringing people, heightening people's energy to a point where you don't know what's going, the suspense, the thrill, the storytelling, the chase of a story, what's going to happen next. The writer's in charge of that, and if they want to pull the rug and go, look who's just gone, you didn't see that coming, or look who's just come back, I have seen a lot of friends and colleagues be very surprised by an exit that they didn't see coming, and we all brace ourselves as actors that you're going to get that, you're going to get called upstairs and you're going to get told.
But do you take that as being fired? Do you take that as they don't like me anymore?
I suppose you do. I suppose you can't not feel that there's some element of your personal investment. But the truth is, again, not only as a director, now I've also been a producer in these shows. Because remember, I've been doing this job for 30 years, so I've been allowed to learn and watch, and I've gone from actor to director to producer and back to actor. I'm using everything I've learned. So when I was working as a producer, I could see how hard it must be to stick to the agenda of making great stories, but also being mindful that the people telling the stories feel that it's their job to stay and tell the story. And if you say, we don't need you anymore, how can they not see that as anything but an insult? However, it's actually one of the biggest compliments, because what they know is that the viewing figures will actually increase substantially because people will tune in to see this awful thing happening to your character because you're actually popular. It's the most popular characters are the ones that end up getting taken out because they know this will shock the audience and create. Yeah. So, but there hasn't actually happened to me yet. But I have been around.
You're too good.
No, it's not too good. No, I think it's.
Guys, he or she can die, but I can't die.
No. I think there are a lot of us that want to, when we go.
I'm the director. You're dying, not me.
I did ask to leave. I went to Casualty with a lot of really good deaths. I was like, I've got some great, and they were like, no, we're not doing that yet. And I think it's only because
10 years later.
Yeah. I was like, can I please come back to die? I think some people do really enjoy it. I've spoken to friends who have actually been killed off shows, and they've gone, do you know what? I actually feel brilliant. I feel like I've put closure on the character. Yeah. I just got on a plane and was like, I'm off to America. And it's like, is that it? That's the end of the story. Whereas falling off a cliff or helicopter landing on you, there are some really I deal in like the most ridiculous story conversations ever.
That's mental. So how did you deal with spoken about the rise to fame?
Yeah.
A lot of people, you're saying it's not the objective of this acting career, but you have had a significant rise to fame from when you were 15 and you were spotted by some, I'm not going to say creepy lady, but in today's world, creepy lady, to now being this uber successful actress, director, among a huge number of other things. What was that initial glimpse of fame like? What did it feel like at its peak and or now?
Well, it was great, because remember, when you're that young, you just can't believe anybody knows who you are. Remember, I'm talking 16, 17, walking around town in Liverpool. We were like mini rock stars, because Brookside was a local soap. Everyone watched it, just the way everyone watches Coronation Street, I suppose. And I do empathise with any teenagers who join these soap operas, whether it be Hollyoaks or EastEnders, Casualty, Emmerdale. They've all got an instant rise to fame because there's this 2 million strong audience watching you, and they can't not recognise you. And I was so recognisable by the fact that I was Indian, had like I say, a Scouse accent. If you either knew me or you didn't know me. And what I found is actually I started not enjoying it when, say for example, 18, your age, right? Everyone's having a drink, great, we're having a good time. But I can't get drunk, because if I get drunk, someone's going to start taking... I don't know what I'm going to end up saying. I don't know what I'm end up going to do, what I'm going to doing. The papers might take a photograph, and all of a sudden you're going, oh no, that was a really bad mistake. Because, or what used to happen a lot to me was I'd go to friends' birthdays, and it'd be great, but the birthday party is about the person who's having the birthday, right? But I'd turn up, and all of a sudden it all became about me, and I'd take all the limelight away from the person whose birthday it was. I had a really good friend, and we used to go to the races for her birthday, and it was great. And what happened is I could never spend any time with them, because people would just keep stopping me, going, hey girl, come and join us, hey, have a drink, look who it is. And I'd be like, I'm with my friends, do you mind? They go, oh, come on, have a drink. And you want people to think you're a nice person, so you end up spending more time with people who recognise you than you do with the friends that you went out. So I did find it a little bit tricky around the times when I wished I could have just been anonymous and just had a night out with my mates. And it's, my friends are great. They all take it, and they've put up with so many bizarre situations. But I did also use it to my advantage, because if we couldn't get a cab home at the end of the night, I did stop the police cars and go, hi, could you give us a lift home? Yeah, could you give us a lift home, please? And we'd just get in the back of a police van and get a lift. I'd be like, thank you. And it was possibly because they recognised me off the telly that they would even consider that. But yeah, so I did. I mean, I had it the best of both worlds. I can't complain. Sure. And then, of course, another tricky time was, of course, when I was a new mum. And I had Noah, and he was little, and I was pushing prams and learning how to be a mum, and my head wasn't quite there, and there'd be people stopping me and going, could you sign this, or would you have... photographs were thankfully still not around on cameras. Bloody hell, I'd have looked terrible in some of those pictures if they had cameras there. I swear down. Like, you speak to anyone, any new parent, not even mums and dads, they want to stick a hood on, want to keep the head down, they want to have a muslin cloth ready for when the baby's sick or when the nappy change. You do not want, in the middle of a nappy change, in the ladies' toilets in Topshop, for someone to go, oh my gosh, are you that lady who? And you're like, do you mind? Yeah, there were some really invasive moments that I thought, oh my God, this is that fame thing. However, again, how nice to have people want to stop and say something to you. You're not going to stop and speak to somebody if you can't be bothered with them. I'm not going to stop somebody on the street who I actually can't be arsed watching. So I suppose it's only you've got to take the good with the bad. And my family have been really understanding, because we have had holidays and situations where you wouldn't, I remember Noah being about 5 or 6, and he was like, why, when we go shopping, every time, everybody just wants to talk to you, and we never get to do the things that we said we were going to do. And I thought, right, I've got to make a rule. So half terms, especially when we'd go to museums or things, and one child would go, can I have a picture? And I'd have to say to their mum, do you mind if I don't? Because if I say yes to you, all the other children in this half term queue are going to want a photograph. And I'm here with my son, who doesn't get enough time with me anyway, so you do have to be tactful. You get around it. But I do actually say that fame has only become what it is in the last 20 years. It wasn't quite like that in the beginning. And now I kind of use it to my benefit if I can. If I can help people who are trying to get to who are starting their careers by being a little bit famous and pointing them in the right direction, then I get a kick out of that.
I feel like those people that you mentioned at the end, correct me if I'm wrong, are the 5% of people you probably meet. They're the 5% that are genuinely interested in learning about how to get into the career and truly inspired by you. But my presumption, as someone that's not famous, is that the majority of people are just people that want to take a photo with you. And it's the quantity of limitless interactions with people. Like, oh, hey, have a photo, have a drink with us. You never see that person again. It's a nothing relationship. Whereas the people you care about, like your son Noah, and he's like, Mum, I just want to spend time with you. So it must get really excessive. So even now, how do you have to just cover up your face? Like, how do you deal with walking outside in walking these popular places?
Because I am them. If I saw George Clooney down the street, I would want a picture with him, and I wouldn't want to. Yeah. I would obviously appreciate his work, and I would want to ask him more. But I feel like we have to remember how lucky we are. I'm doing a fantasy job, right? I am doing a job that actually I do for free, realistically.
Yeah.
I get paid well for it, but really I am in a fantasy job. Now, there are people who are working in places that are not their fantasy jobs. If they get a buzz out of showing their mate at work a picture of them with me, then actually that's all right. I don't mind
That's
that
really
being the
sweet.
95. I mean it though, because I am
Yeah.
that person. In another life, I was actually that person. You know, even though people see me as somebody, I've grown up on television with a lot of my fans. You know, a lot of women who started watching telly when they were teenagers have just seen me, and so they feel like I'm their friend. They feel like they know me, and I like that. And I do end up talking maybe too much to them, but I get that my family have grown up with me doing that as well. My mum, my sister, everyone, you know, my husband. I hide from it probably by not speaking because my voice gives me away more than my face. Like I ring up train line and halfway through someone will go, "Can I just ask, are you that lady off?" And I go,
Really?
"No way." I'm like, even on the phone.
Are you Adele? Are you Adele?
I wish.
Yeah, that's me.
I wish. I wish. I've had the most weird things said to me, like even in doctor's surgeries. So the woman on the train line recognised me from Loose Women, which was fine because again, these are people who watch the show and they must be watching it enough to know that I'm on it. But the funniest one, and there've been quite a lot of funny ones, are when I went to the doctors for a routine. I was going to get something. I think I had some sort of skin thing on my finger.
Sure.
I went to the doctors, a hospital, and I walked in, and the woman went, "Oh, hello." She went, "Just sign in here." And I thought, "Oh, okay." So I signed my name, and she gave me the doctor's signing in book. Like she thought I was the doctor because she'd seen me on Casualty for years as a doctor. She thought I was a doctor and sent me that way to the doctor's staff room. And I walked into the staff room, and then I walked right out and went, "I'm a patient." She went, "Oh, I thought you were." And I said, "I know what you thought, but no, I'm not." And I'd signed this. I just signed it. I would have been doing operations on somebody by 12 o'clock. So
straight in the operation room. Oh.
I know. So there's been really bizarre things like that have happened. I once got taken to Sue Barker's changing room on Question of Sport. I was there for an audition at the BBC, and they saw S. Barker. They typed Barker instead of Sarker. And some runner came down the lift and took me up to Sue Barker's dressing room. And I was like, "No, this isn't me. I don't think I'm in the right place." I mean, I could tell this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I'll have a Fanta, please. Fanta and a massage.
Yeah, I'll just be presenting Question of Sport or doing Wimbledon. But yeah, so there've been some really funny things that my fame has tricked people into thinking I am who I'm not. But yeah, I just, you know what, I don't keep my head down. Most people can tell if you're approachable or not, and I can also say no. I've learned how to say no. If somebody says, "Can I have a photograph?" I can go, "Do you mind if I say no? Would you mind?" And then they're fine, you know. So there is ways around it.
Have you? I don't really like to ask this question, but have you ever flipped out at someone for wanting a photo? You just really not be bothered, or even at a family member or friend. I mean, not in general. I mean, everyone's flipped out at someone, but in terms of like. Someone wants a photo with you, and you're really like.
Do you know what? I flipped out on a mate once who kept saying, and she didn't realise it was a joke. She didn't realise it sounded as offensive as it was. And I love her to bits. And she used to say, "Oh, I can't watch you on television. I just can't watch you. I just keep thinking it's you. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be. Oh, I just can't watch it." Now she thought she was telling me that as a nice way, like, "Oh, you're just." Yeah. And I kept saying to her, "Will you stop saying that? Because it sounds like I'm not doing my job very well." And she was like, No, I just can't watch. I just have to turn over whenever you're on because I think, oh no, you're just you. Yeah. And I remember saying to her, "Do you know how offensive that is? Like, I am literally living a different life as somebody else on screen, and all you can say to me is, 'Oh, I can't watch it because it just it's just you.'" I'm trying not to be me. I'm actually. Yeah. I'm doing the exact opposite of what you're saying. And I remember her going, "I've never thought about it like that." It did completely make her realise what she was saying. She went, "I get what you're saying. You're saying I'm basically telling you shit at your job. And actually what you're saying." And I was saying, "Oh, just don't tell me. Don't go out." And I've also had a little go at a woman in B&M Bargains who came running after me to let me know she didn't know who I was. And she went, "Oh, I don't know who you are, but they said in there that you're on the I said, "Can I just ask you, if you don't know who I am, why on earth have you come all the way out to tell me that you don't know who I am? And I did kind of think, oh, I shouldn't have said that because it was just so. Yeah. It was just so.
But the thing is, you could take that out of context and think, oh, that's so bad. But with so many interactions where you've been so nice to so many people, and then the only two things, like I think I'd probably flip out day one. And think, oh, we can have a photograph.
No, you wouldn't. Why on earth?
No, I wouldn't.
No, but I'll tell you what.
I'm not Harvey. No, not the blonde guy.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I wish I'd worked out. I watched some actresses talking about which is their best side, and I never ever. I still haven't worked it out. And they go, oh, not this side, and I think so. We'd be getting our picture taken, and they go, oh no, not this side, that side, and I think, oh, well, how do you know this side isn't my bad side? And what's going on? I just didn't get the etiquette of how you have photographs taken. But yeah, fans are great. I wouldn't be where I am without them. There must be, so many people who just think I'm somebody that they've seen growing up all day long that I'm quite happy to chat to them. They're usually, you know what, I'm not just saying this. I don't get much flack. I'm really lucky, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram or in the street. I think I'm either you know me and you're all right with me, or you don't like me and you don't bother, and that's the way I.
I think that's more. I think that's more representative of your personality. Being a good person rather than it's a luckiness thing. Because you get some people that they haven't done very much, and yet they say one thing, especially in today's society, and they're cancelled, and people didn't even know who they were before. Even non-famous people.
It's a big deal now, and I mean, I am very cautious about this whole cancel culture. And it's getting to that point, and people ask me a lot, especially because I've been in the industry for so many years, where do I see with quotas and people of colour being on television, and do I feel that it's being representative, and have I seen a change? And of course I've seen a change since 1988. I'd be very upset if I hadn't seen any change, but I haven't seen as much change as could have been done. And I also am not a huge believer in quotas in the sense that people say, well, you've got to have 5 people of colour in this programme and you've got to have 6, because I think it's not actually about the numbers, it's about the role. I would be happy to play, like I've just been saying, a dinner lady who works behind the counter if the dinner lady is one of the leading roles. What I don't want to play is the dinner lady who just got a tick for being in the show because they got somebody of colour in the show for a couple of scenes. And I think that's where the problem was. You could have watched so many police dramas and the chief inspector of the force would be some black man with a hat, and you think, oh, he must be very important. But he's only got 2 scenes in the whole show. And for them, the producers would go, tick, we've got a person of colour in this show, and they're in a very senior role, but actually they're only in 2 speaking scenes. So for me, it's about the writing and the content actually having interesting conversations with people of colour. You can have one person of colour having a really good part, and that is better than having a show with 6 4-line parts for people who you'd never even know. They were the postman, the builder. Do you get what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm not a person of colour, but I think it completely undermines someone such as yourself that's highly successful, not because of the colour of their skin, but because of an actual talent. And I think people are like, oh, well, they're only filling that role because they look that certain way. Yeah. So you've got that problem. Yeah. And then also the problem you just mentioned in filling quotas. No one wants to just fill a quota.
Yeah.
And then also them just having them, you mentioned the chief of police. Wow, big role. What, 2 episodes or something?
Exactly, yeah.
It's a load of nonsense.
It's like 4 lines. It's like... You see, this is what I think what happened originally was these quotas came about, and all of a sudden everybody everywhere was filling their show with guest characters and small parts with people of colour, or with disabled people with disabilities, or with LGBTQ, so that they felt that they were being inclusive, but they weren't actually being inclusive with the nitty-gritty core of the characters and the story. Anyone's happy to play a terrorist if the story's about a terrorist. But I've got a lot of Asian male friends who don't want to just be seen as playing the terrorist for 2 lines in the back of a shot in Homelands, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You make the story about a guy who becomes a terrorist and we'll watch that film and he'll be happy to play that leading role. But if you're going to just keep throwing people from the Middle East or people from Pakistan and India for one scene, then that's not making them feel like they're actors. They're literally just... job, a gun for hire for 2 lines. So I feel like that cancel culture really started allowing people to say things like that, which was great. And I do think there's been an improvement. I'd like to think, because I've been around for so long, people don't think I'm just being employed to tick a box, because I had to sustain a career where there were no roles for it. I played Angie, Zoe, all my roles were nothing to do with being Indian until I got to Ackley Bridge. And then when I got to Ackley Bridge, all of a sudden I had to produce the accent and play the role. So I had to I was auditioning with white girls for so many of the roles that I ended up doing, that I feel I got the job for me and for what I brought to the table. Now I can imagine a lot of Asian actresses who are starting out will be worrying that, am I only here because this series needs to have that inclusivity? But that's not to say once they get on screen, they're going to show their value, people are going to love them, and then they'll end up being seen for their true worth.
What do you think about the flip side then? We were actually talking just before we started filming the podcast about Bridgerton, for example, when you have a complete shift in what happened with completely different races playing roles.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good thing in terms of offering a new artistic license with different races playing different roles? Or do you think, I mean, especially little kids, right? They're getting a lot of their information from social media, from programs. They might think that that's what history was really like. And that could be problematic in the sense that they might forget about, I don't know, the ways things were, or treacherous things like slavery or wars, and completely get a flip in their mind about what things were truly like. Because nowadays it's just artistic license and it's just this person playing this role, and it doesn't matter who it is. What's your opinion on?
So you
on
tell
that sort
me, and I'm only being harsh on you here because I know I can. So what's wrong with that person thinking that that was normal? Like, so when you watch an alien film and you don't know what aliens look like, right? And you see that somebody's depicting them looking in a way that you didn't see them depicted in the books. We've seen UFOs, and UFOs are meant to look like flying saucers. Oh, but in this film, they're not making them look like that. You still allow yourself to believe it, right?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think people should be free to have artistic license, and I think it's a truly amazing thing to reflect anything in a different way. Like suddenly you have a Roman war and there's aliens involved. I mean, that's awesome, you know. But the reason that there can be somewhat of a problem is in things that rely on historical events. I'm not saying there's not room for artistic license, but I think there also needs to be room for things that actually show how it happened in a sense as well. I don't think every single episode needs to be mix matching characters for the sake of it.
Yeah.
I think there's room for that, but I think there's also room for shows in which it just shows it how it was. I'm not saying complete reverse to how it was at all.
I think there are shows that, if you look at the ratio, there are far more shows that show you how it was, and there's only Bridgerton on the other side. So the ratio's pretty low, right? There's only one show that fictionalizes, that had things gone differently. Because I think Shonda Rhimes' vision was, there is a version of this story where actually the black race was accepted very early on in our culture than we did accept them. And this is how it could have played out. So if you were to watch a version of Romeo and Juliet where, spoiler alert, Romeo doesn't die and Juliet doesn't die, right? We wouldn't have a problem saying, let's see how that plays out. There are people that have done versions. Yeah, you could do versions of shows where you go, imagine if that was allowed then. Yeah. Also, we want to be able to say, if you're going to tell a story on stage, you wouldn't have a problem of what colour skin Hamlet has. If you went to watch the play Hamlet, you wouldn't probably mind what colour half of the cast were, even if in real life.
Well, it's the same with Hamilton. I mean, I watched Hamilton, literally like my favourite play. Like I thought it was unbelievable.
It's amazing.
I didn't think once about. I think the colour of the skin didn't even matter to me. It was just so brilliant, and I was so excited about the whole thing that it didn't even remotely matter.
Yeah. That's what storytelling's meant to do. You're meant to be suspending your imagination. If you want to watch a documentary, I hear you. Watch a documentary and watch the real thing. If you want to watch fiction and you want to watch storytelling and you want to give people creative license to include the people in your world right now to tell the stories that happened before, then you're going to have to bend some of the rules, and you're going to have to see it as, I get this. I absolutely get this. Just the way that we accepted how gay people are allowed to be openly holding hands in the street in our day and age. If you don't want to watch things like that, you also don't have to watch it, because, like I say, there is only a couple of shows that are doing that kind of casting and enrichment of storytelling using all the different voices that we've got available. And I'm a big believer that I think I enjoyed the fact that Bridgerton came and was a disruptor.
Sure. Moving on to sort of like how you transition out of acting.
Yeah.
Or not out of acting, but doing things alongside your acting career. You recently did a podcast speaking a lot about side hustles and how you ventured into different things.
Yeah.
I'd be curious as to not necessarily side hustles in and of themselves, but doing other shows such as Strictly and Gogglebox and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How have you transitioned into Chase? How have you transitioned into those things that people love watching?
So, what I found was that obviously as I became more established and I started asking, my bosses, can I direct, can I produce? And they started welcoming my feedback. I got a bit more confident about what I could and couldn't do. And I realised I can actually do other things apart from acting within this space. And the podcast, which I've got my podcast, which is called Self-Care with Sunetra, which is all about me discovering new self-care possibilities. And then I went on my friend's podcast, which is what you're referring to, which is about side hustles. So I've been spreading myself across anyone who wants to talk to me about different things. But the Gogglebox and the Loose Women, for example, sprung up because I think what happened is diversity came knocking on all the channels' doors, and they were like, we need to make sure we represent everyone who lives in this country. And actually, we're quite low, and I didn't mind being a quota or a tick box because I knew I actually can do what they were asking me to do as good as anybody else. So, of course...
You can take it and prove yourself to show I'm actually good at this. Yeah. And then they're like, I'll go again.
There you go. And then we'll book you again, and then all of a sudden... what happens is you start just being more real. Strictly was a big hard one for me because Strictly was out of my comfort zone. Live TV, Saturday night, big audience, dancing, voting, being voted in or out, and it was just like what a whirlwind. But it gave me one of the biggest life-changing, like, wake up and smell the coffee moment, like, this is what life is. If you don't jump out of your comfort zone sometimes. I've been I've been on telly for a while. I've been doing a bit of acting. Something like Strictly really makes you go, oh my God, I'm a real person and I just have to produce. I have to earn. I have to learn. I have to be good. I have to just listen to my body. You just had to do a crash course in survival. And I loved it and hated it in equal measure. It was quite scary. It was quite scary.
I read that you, on one of your performances, you had to learn it within a day because you had other roles going on. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How did you manage that?
Well, how did I manage that? I look at myself and go, how did I manage? I say this to you, and I hear myself saying what I'm about to say. So I was filming Casualty Monday, Tuesday. We started rehearsals on Wednesday. Thursday, we went through the whole dance. Friday, we dress rehearsal. Saturday's the show. On 1 week... we couldn't do the Wednesday, so I just had the Thursday to learn the dance. By Friday, I'm in a frock with the musicians going, I don't know what I'm doing. It was the waltz.
Oh my God.
It was the waltz. It was week 9. No, it was week 9. The waltz. It was a nightmare. I only had it down in that one day, and then we went on the Saturday. And I remember saying to Brendan, I still don't think I know it. And he went, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I was thinking, I've only got 1 day's training of this dance in me. But we got through, God knows how. But it was scary. Living like that was the closest I think I'll ever get to being like an athlete. Because you really have to deliver. It's like, deliver now.
No retakes. No retakes.
And it's not the same as being on stage, because I was recently on stage at the RSC, one of my lifetime highs. Royal Shakespeare Company asked someone like me, with my Liverpool accent, to go and be on that stage. I loved it. But still, even that first night, which was nothing, it was not, I was still being someone else. This thing strictly was me being me. So I'm really pleased I did it, but it was hard.
What techniques or things do you do just before acting or just before Strictly or just before a TV show or a really popular podcast like this one to relieve your nerves and get yourself nice and relaxed and within the flow?
I do a headspace meditation. 10 minutes. It's
Really?
really good. It's really good. It helps my anxiety big time. And I also do tapping, which is using a tapper. A tap, and it for me, it just seems to work. They're the two things. My first go-tos are the meditation, 10 minutes, because actually, I never believe it, but it always works. I stick it on. It's one just to keep me calms me right down, and I come out of it and I feel like I've had like 8 hours sleep. It's really good. I have to say and massage is another one of the things. I didn't do that before today, but I would always say my downtime. I think it's when that's the only way to shut me up. Massage.
Sorry?
It's the only way to shut me up. I don't stop talking unless I sit in a massage. I can't speak, so it's the best way to keep me gagged.
Well, you speak about the talking part, but that's really helpful for things like Loose Woman.
Yeah, Loose Woman.
What's the process? Can you give us a little taster into what the process is like leading something like that?
So again, it's a really interesting thing because it's so different to television that I'm used to. So my normal TV jobs, we do 4 or 5 takes, and it takes a long time to set everything up, and makeup are involved and costume. Whereas in Loose Women, you turn up at 8, we all sit and get the newspapers out, we all have a good chat about what's going on, lots of debate, lots of chat. Oh, I don't agree, I do agree. There's producers and researchers writing away in the background and typing. Then we go off to makeup, get ourselves made up, and a card comes under the door saying, these are the topics today, based on what you all chatted about in the meeting. And you see the topics, you put a microphone in, you sit at the desk, and you go live in 5, 4, 3, and then you do the show.
Wow.
You go home, and it's like, what?
No, live.
It's all live, and you just think, what are we talking about now? We're talking about... I know.
Have you ever had a blunder? Have you ever had a blunder with something you wish... I've said something.
Yeah, I mentioned my family, I've mentioned my friends, I think I've mentioned your mum, I've mentioned school friends, and I've not checked with them if it's okay to say it. I've got mainly school friends, because I went to school with your mum, and we have some terrible school photos, and whenever these pictures surface,
I've seen it.
I know, and I do feel like I should send a sort of disclaimer out to everyone on that photo going, I hope you're okay that I've just shown your worst face, like the worst pictures of our school.
I look good. You look good in it, but you guys look awful.
I know, I look terrible.
No one needs to know.
But yeah, so I've probably done some real huge faux pas like that. But I also have to say, I have to say, if it wasn't for my friends, and those school friends are a massive part of my life, they made me feel like I wasn't different very early on. And so I didn't actually know how hard the big wide world would be being different in the way I am, because my friends had looked after me so well before. I'd been treated like an absolute equal. I never had that feeling of being slightly different from everyone else until I got a lot older, and I'd say that's probably around the age of 16 onwards. So up until then, I'd been very fortunate that the people I'd surrounded myself by didn't make me feel that different in the way that some people I know have felt. So, yeah.
Well, if you accidentally drop the podcast, my podcast in the Loose Woman thing, I don't think I'd be very upset.
I might mention it. Depends on what a good bit.
I recently did a...
Go on.
Recently did a podcast with Harvey. Oh no, I was supposed to mention that.
Not that Harvey. Not that Harvey. The other Harvey. The Harvey that's going to be even more famous than the current singer Harvey.
Oh no, who knows? Who knows? So Sue, I have to ask this question.
Yeah.
Sunetra, I apologise.
That's okay.
What is next? Superstar.
What is next? Well, I'm currently about to start a new project which is called Professor T, which is filming. It's an ITV series with Ben Miller. You might know Ben from things like Death in Paradise and Johnny English and amazing other things. He's a very good actor. And he plays Professor T, who's this slightly weird professor, slightly autistic, some social skills, that he isn't great with people around, and he is really good at solving murders. And he's a professor at Cambridge University. And I work at the police force where my colleagues want to bring him in to help us solve these murders. And I don't want him to come involved because he's nothing to do with the police, but He actually is very helpful. So we've got this sort of love-hate, Professor T and me. I've got this kind of, you better be good. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Situation. And I'm doing that in Belgium. We're filming that in Belgium. So that's where I'm off to next. And I've got my little producing slate, which is all the projects. So what I've got is a little platform for actors who want to write. Come to me. I help them write. And then we take it to commissioners. And hopefully one day there'll be a series on TV that I've helped bring about. And that's me. In a nutshell.
How can people find out about Professor T in the future, and also how can students or whoever get involved in Slate?
So Professor T is a television program on ITV, and it will be advertised at the end of the year when it's on TV. So if you can watch that. And my Slate is this. I should have said it clearer. I have a production company called Sunetra Productions, and my Slate is my list of projects. So that's what a slate is. So when somebody says, "What's on your slate?" it's like, what have you got in your file? And I'll go, well, I've got a comedy.
Oh, I apologise.
That's okay, but this is how you learn. I love that you said how will people get in touch. I was like, that's a great name for a company, actually. No, and so what happens is...
Yeah, we should name that. I'll help you with that.
Yeah, you can start that company. But yeah, people say, what's on your slate? You say, I've got a rom-com, I've got a drama, I've got a returning series, I've got all these things, and I've got... Whichever company says, we're looking for a show about young entrepreneurs like Harvey Bracken-Smith, and I'll go, I've got a show for you. Harvey. I know exactly.
One day.
I've got a show for you. Anyway, you'll find me. I'm everywhere. You can't get rid of me.
So if someone listening has an idea or wants to get into acting,
yes.
Do you reckon they tweet you, message you on Instagram? What should they do to...
Well, I think if they want to get into acting, they need to look into different avenues. I'm not the person to come to find out about acting. I'm the person to come to if you feel that you are underrepresented and you want to find your voice in a way that you've already been trying and it hasn't worked for you. I'm also there for people who are new writers who have been established in other fields and who want to cross over into screenwriting. Stuff like that. I'm interested in helping people who have already sort of tried and it hasn't worked for them. So if I can help, I will help.
Amazing. Little thing, and not really a question, more of a statement, is that for the viewers listening, you have the best birthday in the world.
Oh, well, me, George Michael, Ricky Gervais, and Jamie Redknapp, and who else? It's you!
Nice. You remembered. Amazing. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me on my podcast today. I apologise for getting your name wrong so many times.
Fine.
That is completely my fault.
I'll let you off.
It's been amazing to hear about your journey. You've given heaps of advice that even for me, who doesn't want to go into acting, feels enlightened by. It's been really fascinating about your directing, your slate. I mean, that's a new word for me to learn today. Once again, your birthday is pretty cool. You climbing Kilimanjaro. That was a very fascinating story.
Let's never forget. Please let everyone know. In fact, you could just put that under
That's going to be the title.
Yeah.
That's the title.
Do you know the one who climbed Kilimanjaro? Can't wait to tell my family about this. Thank you, Harvey. You're a superstar. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing where your career progresses because I know you're on a good trajectory.
Perfect. Thank you.